All right, here we go. Let's start this session with a question. If you had to rate the quality of your recovery on a scale between 1 and 10, with 1 being low and 10 being high, where would it be? Now, before you do that, notice a word I said. I said the quality of your recovery, not the quantity. Quality of your recovery, not the quantity of your recovery. If you had to rate it on a scale between 1 and 10, with 1 being low and 10 being high, where would it be? Now, let me ask you another question, because I know you got a number for that one. Rate the quality of your life because of your recovery on a scale between 1 and 10. Good questions beg more questions, right? Are your relationships better? Is your physical health better? Are your finances better? Is your mental clarity? Do you have more peace in your life? Do you find yourself doing more things in life that make it fun? And most of all, is your spiritual connection better because of your recovery? Again, rate the quality of your life because of your recovery on a scale between 1 and 10. Because that's what we're going to talk about today. The title of today's session, Strengthen Your Recovery in 2026. And I'm going to give you 5 simple steps to help you do that. You know, one of the coolest things that I like about, my journey here on the positive side of my addiction is I have kept things super, super simple. I heard a guy say one time, recovery is a simple program for complicated people. And let me put both hands in the air. I know and I understand that. So today we're going to talk about 5 things not only that will strengthen your recovery, but will strengthen the quality of your life because of your recovery. So here we go. So there are 2 statements that I'm going to make before I give you the 5 simple steps. Number 1, and I put these in the newest version of Powerless to Powerful, the 2.0 version of the book and the audio book. I'm going to tell you how you get your hands on it in just a second. But both of these statements are in the book. Number 1, and I learned this early on, and man, it has been the foundation of my life in recovery and my wife's life in recovery. Today, we enjoy reap the rewards of living in long-term recovery from addiction. I'm 26 plus years, she's 25 plus years, and we live the life that we love to live in our recovery and because of our recovery. So here are those 2 statements. Number 1, when you focus on the quality of your recovery, the quantity takes care of itself. A lot of times the measuring stick for people in recovery is how many years you got, how many months you got, how many weeks you got, right? I mean, we hear it all the time. Here's what I focused on. I have not focused on the quantity of my time in recovery. I focused on the quality of my recovery, and the quantity has taken care of itself. And here's the second statement. One of a man's greatest challenges that he must overcome, and let me put both hands in the air when I say one of a man's, because I'm in this too. One of the greatest challenges we must overcome in our recovery is our willingness to settle for so little. When I ask you to rate the quality of your life because of your recovery, lots of guys get stuck in that challenge to settle for too little, meaning that I'll just settle for less misery than addiction, right? We're not creating the life that we want, but we're just better. When I ask you about your relationships being better, your finances being better, your physical health being better, your being able to do things in life that make it fun, your recreation better. Is it just better, or are you on the path to be and become the best, most powerful version of yourself so you can get to where you can live up to the God-given potential, the potential that your addiction was holding hostage? I'm going to tell you, in recovery, lots of times we as men, we settle for less miserable, and that's good enough. And let me tell you, brother, that's not what I signed up for. And I hope you're here. I hope you're here because that's not what you signed up for either. Hello, my name is Mark Mascola, and I want to welcome you to Powerless to Powerful. I call this the Defeating the Goliath of Addiction podcast. This is the number 1 positive side of addiction podcast for men. I'm grateful to be here, grateful you are here as well as we kick off 2026. Before I get to the 5 steps that will strengthen your recovery in 2026, I want to invite you to get your hands. I just mentioned the updated version of Powerless to Powerful, the book and the audio book. We did this in an audio book format so you can listen to it just like you do this podcast. And I'm going to give away 500 copies of that audio book for free. So if you're listening to this in podcast form on one of the podcast networks, I'll put a link in the description. If you're watching this in a video form, all you've got to do in the comment section under this video, just comment the word power, and I'll have my team send over a link. Again, I'm giving away 500 free copies. It's almost 4 hours of really kick-ass information about defeating, not just defeating the Goliath of addiction, but putting yourself on a path to be and become the man God created you to be and become. Again, the name of the book, Powerless to Powerful. All right, so I'll just go ahead and say it. Man, this recovery thing is hard, right? It's simple, but it's really hard. I call it's a quest, right? The definition of the word quest is an arduous journey. It's like I talk about it in the book. We live out this modern day David and Goliath type story where every time we turn around, we seem to find ourselves in the arena with another giant. Finances, relationships, physical health, mental clarity, recreation, having time to do things in life that make it fun. But what you have to and not to mention standing toe to toe with the Goliath of addiction. And here's what you have to understand. If you're looking for this thing to be easy, it is for this thing to not have any pain attached to it. It's not going to be that way. This is an arduous journey, but I learned early on that the pain of being successful in recovery is so much less than the pain that it was causing me to live in active addiction. Because I'm just going to tell you, success in anything is not easy if you're willing to pay the price. There's a word that I like to use that lots of men in recovery don't like to hear. It's the word earn, right? You're going to get what you earn, what you're willing to pay the price for. And I'm not talking about price as in money, although that can be part of it too. Price as in willing to do what most men want, to have what most men don't. That means time, resources, energy, sometimes money. It means that you're willing to do something that most men won't, to have what most men don't. So step number 1 of the 5, and if you've been around the 12 steps, there's this whole thing about inventory and all of that, and I get all that. But what I want you to understand about the first step of this, step number 1 is about continual assessment. Continual assessment means that everything that I do creates a result. It's either a positive result or it's a negative result. Hopefully you have made it here because you're going to ask yourself the question, and this is, I'm going to talk about this all through this first part of 2026, because when I mentioned a few minutes ago that one of a man's greatest challenges is overcoming our willingness to settle for too little, ask yourself this question. This is the first question that you have to ask when we talk about continual assessment. What am I done settling for? If you're struggling with addiction, you got to be done settling for life in addiction. If you're settling for less in your recovery, it's time to be done settling for that. If you're done settling for less in your life, then it's time to do that too. You got to figure out what's working and do more of it. What's not working and do less of it. You should, but here's the challenge. What's working sometimes means that you're doing things that you may not like to do. Ashley and I, my wife, we were talking about this morning. It's one of the things when I talk to men about their journey in recovery, I liken it to the whole concept of living a healthy, fit lifestyle and lifting weights. Some men don't like to lift weights, but they like the results for having exercised. Think about that as it relates to your recovery. You're strengthening your recovery muscles every single day by figuring out what works. Don't try to shortcut the system. Be effective at what you do. Don't quit doing something that you ought to. You have to understand that this is a unique journey that's up to you. How many meetings, who your sponsor is, if you hire a recovery coach, if you do outside workshops, if you listen to podcasts like this, because I'm going to tell you, I have learned that a lot of times the traditional recovery message is failing men because they get caught up into living their life in a box instead of understanding that each of us has a unique journey here. So Step number one is about continual assessment. What am I done settling for? And you'll make it so far in this journey, and then you'll have to say, I'm done settling for that. And you'll create a new plan to go to the next place and to the next place. And the cool thing about it is understanding that recovery is not making it to a certain place and saying, oh, I win. You know, it doesn't, when I made it to 5 years, I didn't put up both hands and say, oh, I win. When I made it to 10 years, oh, I win. When I made it to 20 years, oh, I win. Because the whole game is about personal growth, and that's what we're going to talk about, which is step number 2. Step number 2 is about understanding your true identity. That is the foundation of personal growth. Addiction is not who you are. It's something that you did. And let me tell you, I'm not going to tell you how you should do it. I'm just, when I heard at meetings early in my recovery, take what you can use and leave the rest, I did that. So in my first year, I quit introducing myself as an alcoholic and a drug addict. Why? Because it didn't empower me. It put a label on me, and I understood early on, my addiction is not who I am. It's something that I did. So when I say my name is Mark and I'm an addict, my name is Mark and I'm an alcoholic, I am labeling myself by a problem. And I have said this, and I talk about it in the book. The number one thing that, and don't get me wrong, I understand that the biggest step in fixing a problem is identifying the problem, but that does not mean I want to be identified by it. A power greater than you, a power greater than me, called God, created us in the image and the likeness of the power itself. Think about that statement. A power greater than you, called God, created you in the image and the likeness of the power itself. That's why I built this whole men's movement about powerless to powerful, because I became willing to say the one thing men in recovery want to say but won't. It's not in my nature to be powerless. And I can assure you, my brother, it's not in yours either. I was born in the image and the likeness of a powerful God, and you were too. And addiction had created a separation from me from that power. This is about understanding who you are and who you are willing to become. The question is, who am I willing to become? That's the greatest question in personal growth. Your life professionally and spiritually will never get to where you want it to be until you understand who you are willing to become. You want to be 26 years clean and sober like me, you have to understand you have to pay the price to become a man that is worthy, willing, who has earned that place in recovery. Now, don't let me put both hands in the air and say, I understand this is not me saying I want you to get where I am. I want you to get where God's calling you to be. This isn't about getting to 26 years. It's about being a man who has the quality of his life and quality of his recovery, so the quantity takes care of itself. Again, the whole game is about personal growth, growing larger than your addiction. Step number 3, take personal responsibility for your results. Don't be a victim. At some point, you got to draw a line and say, I'm done. I'm done with that back there. Right? You can't be a victim of your circumstances. You can't be a victim of your past. You cannot allow your past to hold your future hostage. Again, the word earn. Take personal responsibility for the actions that you take. Take personal responsibility for the actions that you don't take. But take personal responsibility for your past so you can do whatever it takes. And how do I say this? Whatever it takes for as long as it takes. Right? That's when the huge rewards get paid, when you find the huge rewards. I'm willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. Doesn't mean it's convenient. Doesn't mean it's easy. Again, this game is tough, but you have to take personal responsibility for yourself. Success in anything. If you go out and start a new business, being a successful businessman is a challenge. I say it's a quest. It's an arduous journey. Just like this thing in recovery. You have to take personal responsibility for your results. They're not up to your group. They're not up to your sponsor. Your results are up to you. Do what it takes for as long as it takes. That is step number 3 of the 5 simple steps to strengthen your recovery in 2026. Step number 3, take personal responsibility. Step number 4, and this is a tough one. Validate that you have what it takes. How do I do that? There's two words that I love. The first one is belief. The acceptance or state of mind that something is true, and I'm going to add whether it is or not. You have got to believe in yourself. Hang around men who help you build an undeniable belief in yourself because they were around someone else who helped them believe in themselves. Because this whole game is, it's not up for debate. I say it all the time. If you're looking for an out, if you're looking to relapse, just pick any excuse because anyone will do. But if you're looking for a reason to stay sober, just look around because you can find reasons everywhere. The success stories are everywhere, but unfortunately, the failure stories far outnumber the success stories. But you have to surround yourself with men who help you adopt a belief in yourself that this is something that you can do. Why? Because they've done it. I can tell you I believe in you because I believed in myself and I did it. The greatest example, the greatest level of service that you can be to another man is to be an example of someone that recovery is working for. That's jumping into step number 5. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But validate that you have what it takes. Understand that the language that you use to and about yourself, right? I just talked about true identity. My name is Mark and I'm an addict or an alcoholic. My name is Mark. I'm a more powerful me because of my most powerful God. My name is Mark. I'm clean and sober today. I mean, those things, the language that you use to and about yourself is such a powerful affirmation and validate the fact that you have what it takes to not only win the game of defeating the Goliath of addiction, but that the quality of your life gets better in and because of your recovery. Step number 5, positively impact the lives of others. Your story is supposed to be an example. Your story is one of impact. Serving others begins with serving yourself first. One of the things that they say early, and you hear it in meetings all the time, right? To keep it, you got to give it away. But let me tell you something. Not very many people are willing to tell you, you got to have it to give it away. You don't need more opinions. What you need is to surround yourself with people who can help you understand that you have to win this game first before you can help others. Positively impacting others means that you are an example of somebody that this game of recovery works for. You have to be a taker before you can be a giver. And I know that's contrary to what you hear. I'm telling you from my experience. Early in my recovery, I was a taker. I was a consumer of information. I had to learn what it took to win the game of recovery before I had anything to share, to give, to be of service to others. So step number 5, positively impact others and understand that the greatest service that you can provide a sick and suffering man in addiction or a man that's sick and suffering in his recovery is to no longer be someone who is sick and suffering. Be an example, again, of somebody that wins. So that's the end of today's session. 5 simple steps to help you strengthen your recovery in 2026. I hope this serves you at the highest level. Again, to get your hands on the free Powerless to Powerful 2.0 audiobook, Defeating the Goliath of Addiction. Just comment power in the comments if you're watching the video, or I'll put a link in the description if you're watching the audio. This is Mark signing off. Till next time, go out and be the best, most powerful version of yourself. I'm going to go ahead and say it just like I always do in most of the things that I create. My name is Mark. I'm a more powerful me. Because of my most powerful God, I went from powerless to powerful, and you can too. Till next time, be great. Bye for now.